I want you to let yourself off the hook. It is not easy to find the answers to what actually works, but it doesn't turn out to be hard to do once you find them. You have to leave behind the approaches that don't work to finally do what does work, because there's kind of an opposite direction you have to go to be successful. So I really want to help you today understand why things are not working for you recently. I do a 5-hour program on this. I'd be happy to send you that. But today I'm going to take about 15 minutes to explain this, because until we understand why what we're doing isn't working, we don't even see the difference with what does work. So coming from the perspective of evidence-based practices, when I go to the research to see, well, what actually works, I have to define the results that I care about, right? So people will say all diets work. I think what they mean is they all work temporarily. So what I was really clear about is I only care about results that are lasting. I only care about like resetting my weight so I don't have to do weight loss all the time, right? I want to do it once and be done with it. So I was looking for sustainable weight loss. I also noticed that a lot of the weight loss approaches that are being promoted to us out there actually harm our health. We have to compromise, the functioning of our kidneys or our pancreas or our gut, right? We're trying to force our bodies to release excess weight. So I got really clear. I care about healthy weight loss. I care about sustainable weight loss. I want to improve my chances of living well and active and independent for decades to come. And I never want to diet again. So I'm looking for only eating approaches, eating guidelines that will predictably and reliably produce healthy, sustainable weight loss. That makes sense? Now, it took time because I had so many wrong ideas in my head. But ultimately, the answers came through really clearly, and it became really apparent why most of the weight loss approaches we're using don't produce healthy, sustainable weight loss results. In fact, when UCLA researchers decided to look at what's the long-lasting results of dieting, 2 years out, and what they concluded was they don't produce lasting weight loss. The approaches out there produce temporary weight loss at best. So less than 1% of dieting efforts led to healthy, sustainable weight loss. This is pretty bad odds, right? So if you're in the 99% plus not getting good results, you're in good company. It's most of us, right? So most of the diets and weight loss approaches in the marketplace do not work for healthy, sustainable weight loss. And I want to help you get clarity on this. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to step away from that path of terrible results and onto a path that will give you the results that you want, that will give you a healthy, sustainable, slender weight. So first, it's important to know those other approaches, most of the approaches out there are not proven to work for healthy, sustainable weight loss. Second, I want to give you 2 reasons we understand about why that is. So when coming from the evidence-based practices background, we are looking for at least two things when we're looking for evidence-based practices. One, what are the key elements of the programs that work, the interventions that work, right? And what is the dosage amount that makes it effective? So let's talk about the key elements, right? So the key elements of most weight loss approaches out there, and it may be packaged in different ways, but it's generally you have to eat less, you have to reduce your calories. So that is one of the key elements of the approach, is somehow you've got to eat less. What happens to us when we focus on eating less is we get more hungry, right? It's understandable. Our body has mechanisms for changing our hunger hormone functioning, so we get more hungry. We also get more anxious. We get more cortisol in the system when we go on a diet. So it makes us anxious and driven and sleepless. Another thing it does is it makes us low energy. It makes us not want to move around much, and it makes us store excess fat. So that's why, like, doctors who specialize in obesity say some of their most obese patients are starving themselves. and they just keep storing excess fat. So why is this? It's because our bodies are very well designed to defend against starvation. Our body's priority is homeostasis, keeping our temperature in a certain range, keeping our weight and our fat storage in a certain range. So trying to cut calories is the wrong focus. It's the wrong key element for healthy, sustainable weight loss. It'll give you temporary weight loss, and then the body will fight back. Frustrating. Now, the other thing that I mentioned is there's a dosage problem with most of these weight loss approaches. So part of this is we want the cheap mass marketed kind of approaches, right? Those guys are going to capture our attention more than anyone, but they tend to have this dosage problem. They're not providing enough support for big, lasting habit change. So what I hear from people all the time is I can eat healthy, but I just am not always consistent with it. And then we beat ourselves up. I can do this. I just have to try harder. But as an expert in habit change, I have a PhD in human psychology. I've studied this and helped people with this for over 30 years. We're really underestimating the initial effort that it takes to change our habits, like the need for some guidance and support to get these new habits rolling along, right? So it can make a big difference to recognize how truly messed up our food environment is, to see why it's not easy at all to do this on our own. Because even those of us who think we eat pretty healthy need to change our eating more than we think to change our results. So as an example, most of the food in our food environment now, 70% can be considered highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances. I call them chip niffles as a way to get around the idea that they're treats. And the C is cravingful. So they're cravingful, highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances. They're the most available foods out there. They're the most normal, right? I just want to eat like normal people. They're the most promoted, the most tasty, the most convenient. And those elements really trigger our survival instinct. They trigger this feeling of salience. Whoa, that seems important, right? So cravingful, highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances feel important. And we get a drive for more. We feel like we crave them. And we end up eating more of them than we realize. And we're just not eating as healthy as we think. So on average, the last statistic I saw was over 60% of the food the average American is eating is not truly nutritious food. So the corollary of that is only less than 40% of the food we're eating is truly nutritious. It's not enough for our bodies to be well. And I believe it's a big reason our bodies feel like we're starving them. We can be eating and eating and eating and eating, but there's not enough nutrition in it. So our body's saying, I'm hungry, I'm anxious, I'm low energy, I'm going to store excess fat because it seems like there's not enough nutrition in the environment now. A lot of us believe this is why more than 80% of people are overweight or obese, and that just keeps growing, right? We expect 50% of Americans to be obese by the end of this decade. And there's hundreds of times increases in high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and dementia. And so these all look like they go together. They look like exactly what we see in animal populations that are in a low nutrition environment or in animals that are getting ready to hibernate. It's the same package of problems. It's the body trying to survive inadequate nutrition. Almost everyone I know thinks we eat pretty healthy. When people evaluate the American diet, we find that they rate the nutritional quality of our diet 11 out of 100. Pretty terrible, right? So the way I think about this is I can be eating, in a way, I could be eating twice as good as everyone around me, way better, and only be scoring 22 out of 100. I could be way, way, way better and only be scoring 50 out of 100. So I think we're not eating as nutritiously as we think. And as I see people every day, I teach them these principles that I learned studying what actually works. And they say, yeah, I wasn't eating that nutritiously. Yeah, this is changing my life. Within a couple of weeks, they start feeling more energy. A lot of them feel like pain diminish and they start losing weight. So why don't we know? Well, there's terrible misinformation in our marketplace about food-like substances being good for us. There's all this is better than that. You're going to get snack food, but get the one that has more antioxidants or has less calories or less fat, etc., right? So there's all this terrible misinformation, and our bodies just need more nutrition than we're giving them, right? So you're probably eating more healthfully than the average person around you, but you're also probably further away from truly healthy, slenderful eating than you realize. So it's not actually hard to eat the way that actually changes everything, but we have to overcome certain sociocultural and human psychology issues associated with eating in these times. Now, I felt like I should be able to figure this out on my own. I'm smart. I'm reading lots of stuff. But I had to leave the popular media to find the answers. I had to take all my scientific training, and particularly my training in evidence-based practices, to figure it out. Figuring it out without support is difficult because our environment is leading us so astray. So this brings me back to the dosage issue. Most people are going to benefit from having a higher dosage of guidance and support. It makes all the difference if you want to figure this out in the next year instead of in the next 20, 30 years or the next lifetime. All right. So that brings me to the Slender for Good method and how it's better than what you've been trying. So we get hundreds of times better results than those other programs. And I've had the opportunity to discover there are a few other people in the world who are teaching the same principles that I discovered in the research. So that gives me these other populations I can observe too, to see this works better, way better than the other approaches out there. And so why? It's focusing on the results of healthy, sustainable weight loss, not temporary weight loss. It's focusing on the key elements that work that are almost the opposite of the elements that don't work. So we actually start with eating more highly nutritious foods. It's a completely different starting place. It's a completely different key element. And it makes all the difference for starting to get results for your body to say, okay, we're good. We don't have to store excess fat anymore. It's also got the right dosage of support. So I never thought I was going to be a weight loss coach, I can tell you, but it is a joy to every day to see other cool, smart, successful, wise women in this age group getting their lives back, just getting healthy eating and sustainable weight loss handled so they can spend their lives in more interesting and fulfilling pursuits. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons. I'm just going to go through those again, why Slender for Good is so effective. And I want you to see the difference between the ineffective things for healthy, sustainable weight loss and the effective things. It will change your life. So first, the Slender Way eating approach is proven to work for healthy, sustainable weight loss for women over 40, 50, 60, right? It's predictable and reliable. It just, when you do it, it just works. There are 4 fundamental principles. I can tell you when I started studying this stuff, I thought, well, duh, I already know that, and I'm already doing that. But I realized I wasn't. I'm not actually doing what the research shows makes a difference, right? So you probably also have a good idea of some of these elements, but almost everyone I've met lacks the clarity and the specificity to really succeed. Once it gets super clear and specific, you're super clear how much protein and how much fruits and vegetables and how much whole grains and how much fats to eat. It makes all the difference for getting the desired results. So first, it's proven to work. Second, the key elements are completely different, right? So these 4 guiding principles, I want to just share the first one with you because it can change your life. I've had people go away from just really brief conversations with me and change their lives just from this message, which is we have to start with eating abundant, highly nutritious foods. That it's not the whole answer, but it's the first answer that starts to change everything in the right direction, right? Getting super clear, what are the highly nutritious foods is important because we've been very misled on this point, and there's quite a lot of things that we're eating that we think are healthy that really aren't. So getting really clear, what are the highly nutritious foods? And then getting really clear, well, what does abundant mean? In many cases, there are certain categories of foods we have to be not only doubling or tripling, but quadrupling or even 10 timesing to transform our results. And it makes this huge difference. So it becomes the easiest, most rewarding weight loss journey you can imagine. When you start out with eating abundant, highly nutritious foods, your body quickly reacts with being really happy. Okay, I'm feeling energized. This makes sense. It's saving me all kinds of time and energy because it makes so much sense and it's so clear. And I'm losing weight week after week really steadily without feeling hungry. That's the difference having the right key elements makes. Why? Because you're nourishing your body for real, not according to what the food industry wants you to believe. And your body is responding in a really happy way. So it's getting the nutrition it actually needs. It no longer has to store excess fat. So people feel like, I felt like the weight is kind of just falling off, right? And so it kind of happily resets your weight to a healthier level. So the key elements being different, this is a key reason why this works so well when other programs with different key elements let us down. Knowing this works helps us keep going. Now, the third big reason Slender for Good is so much more effective relates to that dosage issue we talked about. So I'm talking about the dosage of support and guidance you're getting to transform your eating habits enough and long enough to get transformative results. Many programs out there talk about habit change, and we do know a lot about how habit change works, how we can help people change habits for good. But when I've checked into these programs, most of them don't provide adequate support for actually being successful with habit change. It's a big deal to change our eating habits. They may have been running, some aspects of them have been running every day for years, and some for decades, and some since we were children. So changing those is a little bit of a big deal. I think of it like the ship is going along this way. You're not going to just go that way. You're going to probably need some support for that turn and for getting that turn to start to really build momentum in another direction so that it can start to get easy. So having a trusted coach to guide you and support you, and a community that supports you makes it so much easier, as opposed to, I'm going to start chasing the latest shiny object out there, which is what we're kind of encouraged to do. Almost every day there's a latest new tip, which is not true. Right? Results come from consistency, and consistency is way easier when you get support in the early months. Having adequate support and guidance during this habit change process can mean the difference between mastering it this year or 20 or 30 years from now or next lifetime, right? We think we should be able to do this on our own, but there's really good reasons that's not working for us. We want these eating habits to really get easy, to get into a groove so they don't take so much thought, right? And you keep moving forward with these eating habits until they get more and more effortless. So it makes total sense. It's actually simple and easy to eat this way. I hear this from people I work with every week. There's nothing weird about it, but it is different enough to change our lives. So it can feel weird at first. Get some support during that time, right? So it can become automatic and natural to eat this way. So you don't have to think about it. So it becomes effortless. So this is what I hear from people all the time. This has become just how I eat. I eat this way day after day, meal after meal, right? And I love it. There's no reason to go back to my old ways. That doesn't happen overnight, but it can definitely happen over the course of a year. All right, so let me share a little bit of the results, the proof from Slender for Good. I just talked about what a difference it makes to use an approach like this. So having a really clear, specific, proven approach, proven for healthy, sustainable weight loss, really helps us follow it. It's simple, it's easy to follow. I can keep moving forward with it because it makes sense and it's proven effective. Can you see that? Focusing on the right key elements, these 4 fundamental principles, starting with eating abundant, highly nutritious foods, this transforms our experience completely. We're not starving, we're not stressed, we're not having excess cortisol. This becomes the easiest, most rewarding weight loss journey you've ever imagined. And getting enough guidance and support to break through roadblocks and establish these habits really happily makes it easy to imagine sustaining them long term. So I can tell you, discovering this method, this approach transformed my life. Not only did I lose the excess 60 pounds and keep it off for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, but my body is so obviously happy about it. My life is so much richer since healthy eating has gotten really clear and really easy. I have way better energy and mental clarity in my mid-60s than I had through my 40s and 50s. I'm not living with pain and inflammation that I lived with for decades. And I'm walking like a young woman again. I had gotten to the point where pain and inflammation made it so I could barely go for a walk anymore. So I really wake up every day thoroughly grateful. I never take it for granted, right? And I'm confident now I'll still be hiking in the mountains in my 80s. I'll still be well and active in my 90s. It's life-changing. And I get the opportunity to see other people having this happen week after week after week. I've seen it work for hundreds of people. I get to see women and some men every day discovering this makes sense and it's not hard and it's thoroughly enjoyable and it works. I think about Lily. Lily's someone who was starving herself in a very disciplined way and getting terrible results anymore. Her weight was going up. She just kept doing that, eat less, exercise more approach. And 10 years later, it's not working. It's not working. I don't know what to do. This is very upsetting. She was even avoiding seeing friends. So she was thrilled to discover Slender for Good. She's like, I don't have to starve myself. I love eating this way. It's a lot of beautiful, delicious food, things that I had been cutting out, and I'm getting vastly better results, right? And far more joy in living. She's going to see friends again. She's eating abundant, delicious, nutritious foods. And she says, and it just keeps working like magic. And I think about Elaine. She experienced reduced pain, and she hadn't even realized that she had this pain in her back. But that's the first thing that went away. And very quickly, she noticed improved mental clarity. I think the way she talked about it was, I just don't react with irritability anymore. Things come up in my day, and I just feel like I can handle them with more calm. More calm is something I hear from people a lot early in the program. She lost over 40 pounds and she's in her 70s now. And she's just really happy to have a really smart, wise way of eating that she can sustain every day and not have to think about how to eat and not have to think about weight loss anymore, right? She's just really grateful to have this and feel really confident that she'll be living well for decades to come. And there's hundreds of other people. They're just not having stress or confusion about eating anymore. They're not having concerns about their body weight anymore. They're getting all the way to their slender, healthy sized body and just living there, right? We feel proud of ourselves. I love eating this way. And we can keep the slender results because it's easy to keep the Slender Way eating habits going. So I hope this video has given you a better sense of how what works is completely different and so much wiser than the approaches that keep letting us down. I'd be happy to send you links to the longer program where I teach about this in more depth. If you take nothing else away today, I really want to invite you to decide to stop doing things that don't work, like the eat less, exercise more approach. Shift your whole focus from eating less to eating more highly nutritious foods. That's going to be the first step. It's not the whole step, but it's a big one that can change your life. Now, don't be fooled by the processed food industry telling you that this package of processed food-like substances is actually healthy. Find a way to greatly increase the real, whole, unequivocally highly nutritious foods in your diet. And if you're ready for real change in this area and you love the idea of getting super clear how to eat for health and for a weight reset that lasts, and you love the idea of getting more guidance and support to be successful, being consistent with new healthy eating habits, I'd be happy to talk with you. You can book a call with me and we'll explore what's been going on for you with eating and drinking and health and weight, and see if Slender for Good might be exactly what would change your life. It's an exploratory call to see if there's enough of a fit for us to have a second conversation. So there's no obligation on your part or on my part. You know, admission to this program is by invitation only, which is part of how I keep the success rate really high, right? Bottom line, I really want to leave you with this message. There's no reason to feel stuck doing things that don't work over and over and over again when there's something like this that works, and it's not hard.